Alright, so in this week of entertainment, motherfucking Mel Gibson made it back, man. If fucking Britney can survive 2005, then you can sure as shit come back from fucking telling your ex-bitch that she could go choke on a nigger dick. And this motherfucker came back swinging. Now, I guess the new movie's called Hacksaw Ridge, and it's kind of having to do with World War II times, and I haven't got to see it. Do I plan on seeing it? Probably not, unless it makes it to Netflix. But I mean, considering that when this motherfucker gets his production on, his writing on, his directing on, he usually comes out with some good shit. I mean, not to kind of rest on the fucking pedals of Passion of Christ, but this guy really fucked himself when he when he delved into other ventures, especially when he tried to come back with fucking Get the Gringo and some shit called The Beaver, and just motherfuckers have been having it at him, but it seems like they've embraced it back. He might have sucked the Illuminati's dick just to be able to get back on the good graces. Am I mad at him? I mean, nah. How could I? Mental illness, some would say. I mean, it was mostly him being fucking drunk and going on a goddamn rant, but nonetheless, he had to battle shit. I mean, same thing fucking with Lindsay Lohan. This bitch apparently is back, and she's doing some sort of fucking peace in the Middle East of shit, trying to bring some kind of movement or some kind of adoption shit. I really don't get it. And I remember hearing back not too long ago about her wanting to meet with Syrian UN leaders, and I don't know what the fuck she plans on doing in a country like that fucking prostitutes their kids at the years of 12 age. But I mean, she was out there and she was doing some kind of PR bullshit, and apparently when she was talking with some kind of weird fucking accent. She actually sounded like Middle Eastern with a bit of Russian, and she even sounded ignorant by not completing fucking full sentences, and she went on Twitter fucking going about naming her accent Lee Lohan, which can't get more awkward than we had to fucking talk in the third person and naming shit that people can't really understand. Once again, if Britney can come back robotic as fuck, why can't this bitch? How she came back with an accent, though, I can't really explain. I mean, as an actress, we've heard her speak with the English accent back when she was a fucking kid doing, was it Parent Trapped? I don't know. She was like 8 or 12 or 11 or some shit, which is funny that she's out there in Syria and I was a prostitution agent. Actors are usually quite the whores, but yeah, she's out there. She's making a comeback. This is the year of the comeback kids, which kind of almost brings me back to Kid Cutters and his whole shit. And I'm not too sure if in this rehab you're not supposed to have internet access or something, but there's been a lot of shots being fired back and forth with all of the shit with Big Sean and Big Sean going after Kendrick, and it kind of causing a commotion, which kind of brings it back to when that whole controversial verse on Control where Kendrick goes after Big Sean on his own track, where he had kind of given a lackluster performance, and it was meant to kind of rejuvenate and to kind of tickle everyone's asshole so they can fucking get on their shit and actually do things. And that's kind of I guess that competitive nature is what makes hip-hop hip-hop. I mean, does that give, fucking Drake an out for, talking shit the way he did about Cudi? I mean, no, not necessarily. But again, it is competition, and that is going to fucking flick the assholes of everyone included. So, fucking job well done. Well, speaking of music and, mental illness and just comebacks in general, fucking Dave Chappelle, I would arguably say one of the funniest people ever. I mean, no shots at Kevin Hart because he's hilarious and he obviously has a really strong work ethic that's gotten him where he is right now. Dave Chappelle is king. And I'm not too sure what he's promoting, but on November 12th, he's going to be on Saturday Night Live, and his guests or A Tribe Called Quest. And it kind of almost comes full circle because I remember watching the Dave Chappelle show, and they were one of the musical guests. I actually, was it? I'm not too sure actually, now that I think about it, if it was a show or if it was that concert parade thing that he did in New York, where he kind of, brought a bunch of dope ass artists together. But Tribe Called Quest, if you didn't already know, are coming up with another album. They are saying this might be the last one, or it's going to be the last one. This is kind of like with a reunion to let you know this is the last one. Why or how they can remain relevant, I mean, for true hip-hop heads, they're going to give them a listen. They're going to have to come out with something more niche, I would say, probably in order to kind of appeal to the masses. So we'll see how that goes, but motherfucker, like, you can't get better host and musical performance, because I imagine if he's a host, he's going to probably be in these skits, and I don't think Dave Chappelle's ever done this shit. So for those that are listening, I'm hoping that reached your ears in time. Don't miss this. I'm going to try my damnedest not to, so fucking check it out. With everything that's risen up, it's gonna fucking fall down, whether it's the careers, the people that I might have mentioned just previously, or fucking fads, or just these franchises that are kind of becoming too big for themselves. Once again, Entertainment News. Recently, they were in the works to try to make a Deadpool 2. Deadpool 1, which is like one of the first R-rated superhero movies to have big commercial success, which unfortunately does not include The Watchmen, which back in 2009, even still today, is one of the dopest fucking films. I can't wait till they redo that bitch. They stuck to the original material. Shit was good. Show some titties and everything. Great film. Didn't kind of, showcase it in the box office, but fucking Deadpool did. I mean, whether it's because you have fucking hunky ass Ryan Reynolds on this bitch, or because you have a character that literally breaks the fourth wall and will shit on you and will not make you stop laughing, but also giving you the fucking the constant action that you need in this ADHD ridden world. It was a perfect mixture. Well, Ted Miller, who was the director of that, of course, was coming back, and they were working on number 2. Now, apparently he was trying to go bigger, better, and all the shit that comes with it. Ryan Reynolds was not having it. Him, who was one of the main producers of the film, who pretty much backed it and helped it get to the point of release, because there was a lot of shortcomings and a lot of things that kind of knocked it down, kind of has some leverage, and he didn't want to go the big budget fucking route that other shits like X-Men and shit like that do, and do horribly. So pretty much he had the fucking director leave, because it's either the director leaves, your main fucking star, who's the main selling point, who was the thriving force behind the whole bitch, leave, and that's not gonna fucking happen. Not if you want your financial backers to fucking continue with it. But I mean, who are you going to stick with more? Whose word are you going to trust more? I mean, ultimately speaking, Ryan Reynolds had his way, and they lost a director. Now, in that same vein, he almost was rumored to be jumping on to the Flash movie, which, mind you, these are different universes. The Deadpool comes from Marvel, the Flash comes from DC, and the DC cinematic universe needs the biggest amount of help right now, especially since, Batman vs. Superman wasn't all that great. Suicide Squad wasn't all that great. Ben Affleck's portrayal of Batman was so fucking good that, there's definitely high hopes that the movie of the solo endeavor is going to be good, and hopefully the capturing of each character, giving their origins before they have a Justice League movie. It's a big build-up. We're anticipating it. We're hoping for it. There's a lot of pressure going on, and there's too many fucking cooks in the kitchen. They lost their fucking director too, so it was almost a rumor that this motherfucker was going to jump in that route, but I'm not too sure if it's a matter of agencies, because I think the Deadpool thing, which is Marvel, but for some fucking reason, for I don't know how fucking long, is X-Men, and X-Men right now is owned by Fox, so they couldn't collide, or they couldn't switch, because I think DC is owned by WB, and there's a lot of mergers and ownerships in that, so there's really no getting out of it. I'm not too sure if there's contractual agreements with that shit. None of that shit ended up blowing over. Apparently, actually, Tim Miller, who, again, I just talked about with the fucking Deadpool shit, is actually going to do a live-action movie of Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, that almost sounds retarded, because when I think Sonic, I'm thinking his competitor with Nintendo, which of course was Super Mario. If anybody remembers the John Leguizamo flick it was terrible, and it was literally just a cash-in that was a pile of shit, if you can sum it down to just a few words. Now, along with that, though, people had rumored or had petitioned and even started some kind of fucking change.org bullshit list trying to enlist Quentin Tarantino to direct one of these shits, like the Deadpool thing, and there was no response. I'm not too sure if it was, or if he ever commented on it or gave some sort of subliminal through the Twitter sphere like most fake motherfuckers do. But he did come out and say that once he makes his 10th film, that's going to be it. That's going to be the end of it. And I'm not too sure if The Hateful Eight was his 8th film. I think it was. That means that he has 2 more in the works. But once again, after he's done with his 10th film, he's going to retire. Now, one thing I can definitely say that I give mad props to Tarantino, and no matter how frantic or ranting or rabid he gets, in the shit that he talks, he's kept true to his image, and when he creates things, he gives it its own ideology or mythology. Yeah, he creates its own universes to where they stand on their own. If they copy or if they, take inspiration from other shits, I mean, that's what he's known for. Very obscure shits, by the way, but he does it all on its own. He's a master craftsman, and he's, from what I understand, never really taken on other films from, maybe he might have had other writers like, Robert Rodriguez, who's a dope legend in its own, but he's never, had kind of like a cash in, because even Robert Rodriguez, who, once again, intellectually, his own IPs he creates, even if they're little cash ins like Shark Boy and Lava Girl or Spy Kids, even though they're fucking commercial successes and they're aimed towards kids, he invented them, he created them, he molded them, and they weren't shit that were passed on. Similarly, and for example, Kevin Smith, who's definitely one of my favorite directors, writers, even actors, even though he doesn't really give, Oscar type performances, he's just fucking hilarious. He's a comedian, he's a podcaster, he's just dope. No disrespect to him at all. He did, a little cash in, and I forget what it was called. It was some kind of buddy cop movie with Bruce Willis and I think Tracy Morgan. I think it was called Cops or Buddy Cops. It was your typical buddy cop movie, which apparently had really fucking pissed off Bruce Willis. And I laugh at the, 90 degrees of Kevin Bacon or whatever the fuck you want to call it, where separation, 90 degrees of separation, because Bruce Willis had then done a lot of movies with Tarantino, and I'm not sure if they're buzz, but they've always returned back, even to make small, tiny performances, even with Robert Rodriguez. Once again, these are the 3 kings of independent / major league movies that don't break the bank when it comes to budgets, but it's enough to, fucking feed everybody involved. And I'm really excited to be able to see what the fuck he's gonna do, whether or not he would then go into directing just to direct other shit, for cash-ins. I don't know. I feel like he's too much of an artiste for that. Would I hate him if he were to go the route of making commercial shit for other people? Nah, I wouldn't hate that shit at all. I would love to see his interpretation, but he's so strong-willed that I can't see him, fucking with any other company, because Miramax gives him a lot of leadway and a lot of room to wiggle and do whatever the fuck that he does, and obviously it's fucking magic, so fucking shouts out to him for sure. Now, in that same vein of just being able to make magic with the little bits that you're able to gather, I wanted to kind of give some shout outs to some movies that were made damn near on the cheap, but pretty much made some of the biggest successes and headways in comparison to fucking big budget shits that we probably are into for a summer and then kind of forget all the way about it. Now, I'm not a big horror movie fan, but definitely one of the ones that made it big was shit like The Evil Dead. And I forget what the fuck his name is, dude, who you've probably seen do other kind of cornball shit. Something Campbell was a part of The Evil Dead, and it kind of is what made the spooky at the cemetery kind of shit a big deal. And that only took like, I think, under like 4 G's to make, I think. It definitely had, is what started the cliches of shits that followed. Another one that actually started before that was A Night of the Living Dead, which again kind of gave to the whole zombie shits. And that genre is shit that we still see today. Now, as corny as it looks, kind of looking back at the things, obviously, the late 70s, early 80s, you're kind of breaking through in the whole spirit of shit. Now, Batman, which is not part of this whole thing, was one of the first superhero movies out there that were to really kind of to do shit, and I actually know, I scratched that because I think the Superman movies, which before it is what really started it, but once again, that's bullshit, and they weren't very cheap to make. But along the same lines, Mad Max, the original one, and shouts out to Mel Gibson, because this is kind of where he really jumped into the scene. And to think that shit that's post-apocalyptic is what, kind of remains everlasting. Just how in most religions, especially in the Christian religion, we've been living in the fucking end of days, just kind of, waiting for shit to fall off. But along with that, kind of still keeping to the spooky, which once again I'm not into, but these just are shits that were made dirt cheap and happen to fucking make a big everlasting kind of tidal wave. The Blair Witch Project, which was under a couple G's, I think 14 or so, and it really stirred up and really kind of created a subgenre for found footage, testimonials, kind of reality TV shits where you're talking into the camera and things of that nature. That really fucking started shit like that from that stuff right there, which inspired another shit on the list, the Paranormal Activities. This shit cost 15 G's to make and made I don't know how many millions in the box office, probably more in the DVDs and other distribution shits, because motherfuckers are gonna have it in the collection. This is the antithesis of a Netflix and chill kind of situation, because you're gonna scare the panties off of a bitch. Now, more so into my style, which please believe I love being able to shake the panties off of a bitch, is El Mariachi, which I think was the very first movie that Robert Rodriguez did. And like I mentioned, Robert Rodriguez, being one of my favorite motherfuckers, made this movie under 7 G's. Now, it didn't make a whole lot in the theaters, but again, it kind of started his cult following and definitely spawned a couple of sequels after it, like Desperado and Once Upon a Time in Mexico, which was a dope fucking thing. It had what's her fucking name in it. I can't remember her fucking name. I'm gonna say it a little bit later. But along with some of my favorite directors, Kevin Smith, whose movie Clerks was a classic, definitely cult following, definitely spawned a universe of Jay and Silent Bob afterwards. It was made under 30 G's, kind of a, indie Tribeca kind of shit. It was actually along the same scene of when Tarantino had came out, and I think he had, there wasn't Unusual Suspects that came afterwards. This is, I think, when Usual Suspects came out. I think that was the first one to do it. It was one of the Band Apart films. Another movie that just made it really fucking big and was damn near cheap to make, so much so to where they only paid $1,000 to the lead fucking actor, is Napoleon Dynamite. Like, I think they ended up paying him more once the movie, hit big and started getting, got bought over by MTV. But that movie was made so fucking dirt cheap. It really just... And they made so much money in just to fucking vote for Pedro shirts. I remember seeing this shit like crazy, not really understanding it, really hating it just by looking at it. But then once you kind of saw it, you just had to embrace it for its fucking goofiness and just offbeat kind of manner. And it just kind of goes to show that it doesn't take millions of dollars to be able to make a masterpiece. Brilliance is behind the product. You give good content, good ideas, good inspiration, it could just light a fire for so much other things. So definitely shouts out to those that, can be strategic in their moves.